Hey everyone, Final Infinity here, and welcome back to another Newb Guide with Final. The guides that nobody asked for. These guides go into the very basics of what this game is for new players. So these guides really aren't for the veteran players, but if you know somebody or you have a friend that's just trying the game out for the first time, these guides might be helpful to them, so feel free to share it. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So you just started Final Fantasy XIV. Congratulations, it is a fantastic game. It is a good RPG and a good MMO. And it's very story-based, so if you like story, you're in for a treat. Today's topic, we're going to be discussing starting classes. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on each of these classes. This is just very, very basic information on each one to kind of help you make your decision on what you'd like to start as. One thing to note, it does not matter which class you pick, you'll be able to unlock all of them on one character. Isn't that fantastic? Alright, let's get started with Gladiator. Gladiators are a sword and shield class. They are a tank role. Your job as a tank is to make sure that the party doesn't die by maintaining aggro or aggression or enmity, however you want to look at it. Basically making sure that the enemies are coming and attacking you and not hurting your healer or your DPS. Things to note about this class, it is mostly defense with not a lot of punch, right? It isn't really meant to deal out or dull damage. It does okay, it holds its own. And it does have some utility as you level it up. You'll start to get other skills and abilities that you can use to help your team as well as yourself. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say on Gladiator. So sword and shield class, tank class, has utility, high defense, kind of a mediocre offense. Okay, but it's a good tank class, and I recommend it. It's very starter friendly. Let's move on to Pugilist. Pugilist is a hand-to-hand combat class, martial arts, right? You'll be punching things to death, and your one main job is to just delete enemies off the face of the earth, right? It's fun, it's flashy, it's snappy. There are different stances that determine damage output and positionals. So things like attacking from the flank of an enemy or attacking from the rear of an enemy. Those things matter with this class, at least last time I checked. It's been a long time since I've actually played Pugilist, but I think that still rings true. So if you're looking to punch things to death, that's the class for you. Marauder, okay. Now this is a tank class. Axe wielder. It is kind of a beast of a tank. And the main reason why is because it has the ability not only to tank lots of damage to the face, but it is also able to dole out a lot of damage. It has cleaving moves, which do really, really high damage. It has AoE attacks for to attack multiple enemies at once, which all of the classes do basically, but just letting you know it has utility in that aspect. Good single target damage, decent AoE damage, right? But the biggest thing, the biggest selling point I think on Marauder is I believe that once you've geared out your character and max level, it's always going to be the highest HP pool. So it's always going to have more HP than any other tank. So if that's something you're interested in, try out Marauder. Moving on to Lancer. Now, Lancer was my main job for a long time, or main class, rather, and all of these classes turn into jobs, I should probably note, but we can go over that at the end of the video. That's not really relevant, but I just thought I'd mention that. You don't stay a Lancer forever. All of these starting jobs all of these starting classes turn into a job upon reaching level 30 and completing your class quests. But yeah, Lancer is a polearm class. You're going to be using spears, right? Tridents, things like that. It's based off of the classic Final Fantasy job of Dragoon, right? You're pretty mobile, other than when you start to get into your Dragoon jumps, right? Which is where you fly off the screen and then come back down for a decent chunk of damage. it is a pretty decent damage dealer, and I think that it's one of the more fun classes to play. And maybe I'm just biased. Maybe it's because I played it for years, but for the most part, it is a single target damage dealer. It does have some utility for frontal AoE attacks and things, but its main focus is kind of like Pugilist, just deleting the enemies off of the map as fast as it can. So that's Lancer. Okay, Archer. The nice thing about Archer, obviously it's a bow and arrow class, right? But the nice thing about Archer is that it offers a lot of mobility in combat. You're able to kite around enemies. Let's say you randomly draw aggro, which would probably not happen very often, but let's say you randomly pulled aggression off of the tank for one enemy, and that enemy starts coming after you. Run back to the tank, and the tank will grab it from you if they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? It is low damage. It's a very low damage class, in my opinion, but it does have a lot of different neat skills and abilities. It likes to play around with damage over time, right? So you'll be putting ice damage over time, wind. Does it still do poison? I don't remember. It's been a while since I played it, but just know that it plays around with damage over time quite a bit. Low DPS class, but easy to get into. That's all I'm going to say on Archer. Alright, Disciples of Magic. So, if you want to be a spell slinger, let's start with Conjurer. Conjurer is the first and only starter healing class that you can pick. It is pure heals. You do have some attack spells, like offensive spells. They're not really meant to do a ton of damage, but once you become comfortable in your healer role, you'll be able to keep the party healed while also doling out damage. So it's kind of nice in that aspect. I would argue that Conjurer, it turns into the job of White Mage, has the biggest burst heal, just raw heals to a single target or the party out of any of the healers. So if that's what you're looking for, is to just be like a pure White Mage healer, that's what you'd want to go with. Thaumaturge, okay? This is going to be your destruction magic. Fire, ice, lightning, stuff like that. The nice thing about Thaumaturge is that it does lots of burst damage, very high damage for fire, right? And then ice is to replenish your magic pool. So you'd be casting out fire, right? And then eventually, oh look, I'm out of MP. Well, then you can just transition from a fire state to an ice state, and then you just spam your ice a few times until your MP is restored, and then you swap right back to fire. It's very nice. The one drawback of Thaumaturge, I will say, is that it is a stationary class. You have to be standing still to cast spells in most cases. And, that's hard to do in heavy mechanic fights where you have to be dodging a lot of attacks, a lot of AoEs. So that is its drawback. But when you get that spell off, it feels really good damage-wise. And it's a fun class to play. Thaumaturge turns into Black Mage. I don't know if I mentioned that, but anyway. Arcanist. Now this is the strangest starting class that I'm going to discuss. Arcanist is kind of a hybrid job to start out with, and it kind of stays that way, and I'll explain why. Arcanist, they use a spell tome, right, like a book, and they cast spells out of the book. Now here's the crazy thing, right? The Arcanist has the ability to do single target magic damage. It has the ability to do damage over time magic damage. It has the ability to heal yourself and party members. So in the clutch, it's a good class to start with if you're looking to be able to keep yourself healed as well as do damage. Now here is the craziest part. It is also a basic summoner class. It can summon little creatures, like little summon monsters, right? They're called carbuncles, and you have 2 of them. Not to start with, but eventually you'll unlock these. You have the Emerald Carbuncle, which kind of supplements heals and keeps you healed while you're fighting enemies, or keeps the party healed in that matter. Or you have the Topaz Carbuncle, which helps tank damage. The Topaz Carbuncle is really useful if you're running around in the open world trying to just grind out quests and fight monsters on your own. Maybe you don't have a party to start out with. So you just summon the old Topaz Carbuncle and let him take the damage while you deal the damage. And it's kind of nice. Now, Arcanist turns into 2 jobs. Here's where the hybrid part comes in. Once you reach level 30 Arcanist and you've completed the level 30 class quest, you're going to be able to unlock 2 jobs. You have Summoner, which stays DPS, right? Technically, Arcanist is a DPS class, but Summoner is a DPS class, and you will be able to summon more creatures that'll help you fight. It'll help you deal out damage. I'm not going to discuss which summons because it doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to give you enough information to decide which class you want to play. And then the other job that Arcanist splits into is Scholar. Now, Scholar has the ability to summon pixies, and these pixies will actually help you supplement heals and reduce status effects on the party. So not only are you a healer as a Scholar, and that's your primary role, but you also have a little pixie that flies around and helps out doing the same thing. So it's a pretty interesting jack of all trades class to start with, but it does split off into 2 jobs. And the nice thing about it is, let's say you want to try out healer, right? You got that Arcanist, you got it to level 30, you're like, I want to try healing. So you go over to the Scholar job, right? You start doing that for a dungeon or 2, and you're like, okay, cool. Now I want to try out the Summoner. But wait, my Summoner's not leveled enough for this dungeon. That's the nice thing. It shares an XP pool. So as you level your Scholar, it also levels your Summoner with the same XP. So you hit level 31 in Scholar, you're level 31 Summoner. You hit level 35 in Summoner, you're level 35 Scholar. It's kind of nice. The only other thing that I think I should mention that doesn't really have any real it doesn't have any real impact on you and which class you start as, but each of these classes has a starting area in the world. So you have Ul'dah is right there in the bottom left, right? Ul'dah is going to be the city in the desert, right? Pugilist starts in the same area. And you have Marauder. Marauder starts in Limsa Lominsa, which is a coastal city above the water and is adjacent to a very green and verdant land. It's kind of nice. It's if you like the ocean, start in Limsa, maybe. That's not really a good reason to pick your class unless you're really just like, I just want to see the world, then pick that. And then you have classes that start in Gridania. Gridania is going to be your elven wood area, right? Lots of trees, lots of foliage, very fantasy. So if that's what you want to start off in, then pick a class that starts off in Gridania. Anyway, like I said, guys, this was just a very basic understanding of what these classes are, and I hope it helped somebody. I hope it helps new players come to a decision about which class to play. But remember, like I said, you can play as all of them eventually. So if you didn't like your choice, you don't have to make a brand new character. Just see the character through to level, I want to say it's level 10. Once you hit level 10 with your starter class, you have the ability to go unlock every other single class. Once you find the person that gives you the unlock. Like they have an unlock quest to unlock that class. Hope that made sense. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, be sure and leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed and would like to see more guides. I'm also the cutscene man, so if you like cutscenes for the story and you want to catch up, feel free to find them all here on this channel for the main scenario quests. Till next time, guys, take care.